Welcome to Editors Unplugged. I'm joined by Meghna, Madhavdas G, Siddhartha Talya is head of our research team. He ensures that we sound intelligent every day. The opposition has declared that Narendra Modi may not be the Prime Minister in the next 1 year. But let's talk about opposition unity. Is there a cohesive unit that can take on the mighty BJP or NDA? It doesn't look like. Siddharth, you have some data with you up front?
Yeah, we're talking about the Rajya Sabha elections as well, Pranesh, and the state of affairs, especially within the opposition camp, principally the Congress camp as well. So what's happened in Jharkhand should be a wake-up call for the India bloc, but unfortunately for them, it's been part of a worrying, repetitive trend. So what's happened in Jharkhand is that the Congress and the JMM were banking on their respective Rajya Sabha candidates to win the two seats in the Rajya Sabha from the state of Jharkhand. The Congress has actually ended up losing one seat. The JMM candidate has sailed through. But when it came to actually voting for the Congress candidate, there's been cross-voting, reportedly from certain sections of the communists who are allies of the JMM and the Congress in the state of Jharkhand, as well as certain RJD MLAs as well. And the Congress party is completely miffed that a BJP-backed independent, Parimal Nathwani, has actually managed to win the Rajya Sabha election. But this is not the first time that the Congress would be at the receiving end of a conscience vote coming in their way, because I have actually compiled an entire list that dates back to 2016 in Haryana, and then again Kapil Sibal narrowly winning thanks to Samajwadi Party support, even though 6 Congress MLAs voted against him in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Ahmed Patel narrowly winning in the state of Gujarat as well in 2017. Haryana again in 2022 when Kuldeep Bishnoi decided to vote against the Congress candidate Ajay Makin, and he ended up losing there. So this has been part of a very worrying trend for the Congress party, which has not been able to keep its flock together.
I think,
why are there no lessons learned? I mean, look at the list. Every time this happens, the Congress says BJP wins because of money, power, etc., etc. They don't.
And ED and CBI got done. But having said that, that's not really an exaggeration, because we have seen election after election, central agencies do get hyperactive right ahead of elections and right after elections, especially if it's been close. I'm not saying that it is happening in every state, because of course the obvious parallels which are going to be made are in the states where Congress has won.
But when your own MLAs cross vote, then you can't blame the agency.
You can obviously argue that there have been allurements, but look here, the point is this is a party where the BJP has come to power. Rajya Sabha elections have been very, very closely contested. Perhaps never before have they been this closely contested. One would expect that parties put in the full might when it comes to an assembly election or for the Lok Sabha election, but it's with the same sort of gusto with which BJP sort of puts in their efforts when it comes to Rajya Sabha polls. And traditionally, BJP has been very weak in the Rajya Sabha. So actually, to try and bolster their numbers, one can understand where that sense is coming from. Of course, you're right to an extent to say that the party should have planned better. The Congress can, if they're nominating candidates, they should also get their act together and keep their flock together. That's certainly, easier said than done, because also one has to remember, for instance, in the case of at least one of the candidates who's won is believed to have met with a key ally of the India bloc. This is what, sources have indicated to us. Now, if you have a situation where the RJD is saying that we were not consulted before the candidates are finalized, if another key ally is meeting with the candidates, that also somewhere, there is a lesson there for the Congress party in terms of actually keeping their flock together. And just a few weeks ago, on the same show, we were discussing how several big faces of the India bloc are no longer there. Pinarayi Vijayan's out, MK Stalin's out, Mamata Banerjee's out. Now, in this kind of a phase where Congress is trying to reassert itself, the few allies that they have with them, why would they not want to keep them together? Because ultimately, Congress cannot come to power. No party, neither the BJP nor the Congress, it's quite clear, the era of coalition politics is there. You need the support of various other regional players.
But the problem is there, then who becomes the fulcrum for INDI? And I think that's the biggest problem they've had. Just because you have a common enemy, which is the BJP, the Prime Minister Modi, doesn't mean that you have a common motivation or a common goal. All of them, even when they were together and fighting together for Lok Sabha polls, they had their own party heads that they were projecting as the prime ministerial. The point is, everyone wants power, but no one wants to be the glue for this
let
entire
me argue
partner.
that. I can actually argue that the point is this: the two biggest allies of the India bloc, numerically speaking, TMC and DMK, are out right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
For all practical purposes, it is the Congress which has the numbers, and then of course the Samajwadi Party comes into play.
Which is why they need to now definitely pull up their socks.
And I'll get into the index of opposition unity, but here is where there's a lot, as Pranesh said, a lot of lessons that have to be learned. You have to plan better, organize better, and also perhaps take countermeasures to see that the other party does not.
There are 2 points that I'd like to bring up here, because the BJP actually manages to control its flock far better than the Congress. The Congress, like you rightly said, Pranesh, has not learnt its lessons. And the Jharkhand example is a case in point, principally because there were 2 observers that had been appointed by the Congress party for the conduct of the Rajya Sabha poll in Jharkhand. It was Mr. Bhupesh Baghel, the former Chief Minister of Chhattisgarh, and Mr. Ajay Sharma. Now, Mr. Bhupesh Baghel had overseen the Congress preparations for the 2021 Assam Assembly poll, which the Congress lost, the 2022 Uttar Pradesh Assembly poll, which again the Congress lost. And in the case of Jharkhand specifically, it is being reported that he was in the state for a couple of days between the 6th and the 8th of June. He only had reportedly 1 meeting with Hemant Soren, and then he went back. While the BJP, of course, managed to keep its negotiations on, keep its flock together, and it was there at the pivotal moment towards the end when the votes are actually cast. So did the Congress party actually take these Jharkhand Rajya Sabha elections as seriously as they ought to have? That's point number 1. Secondly, the Congress party itself, Pranesh and Madhav, it's a study in contrasts. You know the state of Karnataka very well. Look what's happened in Karnataka in the legislative council elections. Now, the Congress clearly has a comfortable majority in the assembly there. They've managed to actually secure 16 more votes in the legislative council polls than the number of MLAs that they actually have. There's been cross-voting on the part of the BJP and the JDS, and the BJP has now decided to form its own so-called mini SIT to investigate what happened in the state of Karnataka. So the trend appears to be wherever a particular political party is dominant, it's going to look for weaknesses in the opposition camp and ruthlessly exploit those weaknesses.
So when you say that, the Congress doesn't take it seriously, the exercise of Rajya Sabha election, I think it does take it seriously, but the priorities are different.
No, I think the question is of execution. Now, it's very easy. Nothing succeeds like success. And when you're in power in a state like Karnataka, and it's a huge shot in the arm for DK Shivakumar, because the first election that's been fought under him.
It's more about DK Shivakumar rather than Rahul Gandhi's brilliance who got it.
And let's be fair, Congress has a huge base in Karnataka because they have a galaxy of leaders there. You have Mallikarjun Kharge there. You've had other leaders. Siddaramaiah himself is very popular. Popularity. You have others like Parameshwara, MP Patil, etc. So down the line, they have several leaders who appeal to a cross-section of different communities, etc. And they're all well entrenched. And the party itself has, for a very long time been in power. And that's the state from which Indira Gandhi fought the elections as well, as we very well know. So the point I'm just trying to make is this, that yes, when you're successful in a state such as Karnataka, you will obviously use all the resources at your disposal and try and win the election over there. Why is the Congress party not able to do this in other states? Is there a sense of, someone from the Samajwadi Party was today saying that is there a sense that the party machinery, the rank and file is completely thrown in the towel? Are they dejected? Are they not wanting to work hard? Are they disillusioned?
Yeah.
Yes. That is actually a factor that really the Congress has to look at, because if the way they are going, apart from Himachal, the only other parties or the states, I beg your pardon, that they are in power are in the south. And for Congress, which has ruled in Maharashtra, which has ruled in Rajasthan, in Madhya Pradesh,
just to pick on that point, look at the commentary, not from the BJP, by the way, from the own allies of the Congress party, DMK abusing the Congress every day. You have people from the Samajwadi Party expressing their no trust in Rahul Gandhi ahead of the Uttar Pradesh election. So now let's, talk about what's happening in the opposition camp, so to say. There are claims and wild claims that the next party to break will be Samajwadi Party. That, more than 20 people, 20 MLAs are in touch. So that's a
and interestingly, Rahul Gandhi has just celebrated his 56th birthday. So Rahul at 56 has been Congress at an overdrive of his PR and his hype. They are saying he's going to be the next Prime Minister. From the Pookie Prime Minister to Purushottam and Parshuram, I beg your pardon.
Parshuram, by the way, Parshuram's weapon of choice is an axe. So is there a wedge that is being driven now? Is a question that perhaps many will ask.
That's the best thing. So you have Rahul Gandhi being projected for the Prime Minister's post at a time when all the states where they are doing well are where you have your strong regional alliance partner, where you have your strong regional faces. And with the help of other alliance partners, in Tamil Nadu, you had the face of Vijay. It really wasn't Rahul Gandhi who seemed to be the glue which is bringing together these Congress-ruled states. And look at what's happening over Meghna Deka, for example. This is highly embarrassing for the Congress High Command to have their own government in Tamil Nadu, have their own government in Karnataka, and you have people from their own leadership, top brass, coming out and saying, we are going to pick this state over the other. So this is an internal rift state-wise within their ranks that Rahul Gandhi
is the power projection on part of Congress party for Rahul Gandhi on, flimsy ground, on thin ice, that without the base, without the support of their allies, should they be doing it?
But what other option do they have? The Gandhis are the face of the Congress party. At the end of the day, if you project any other leader, whatever is said about internal elections, the only reason that Congress has its appeal right now, it's unfortunate. Perhaps in a modern democracy, there's no other parallel globally. I don't know, at least in India, the fact that at least the thinkers within Congress believe that if the Gandhi family is out of the equation, then the Congress will splinter, break up into different parties. So the best chance is to go with the Gandhi face. In that sense, Rahul Gandhi perhaps is their best bet, is the thinking within the Congress party. But yes, there are certainly going to be questions. If you're not going to win elections, if your allies are going to break away from you, if you're projected as the sort of prime ministerial face, and your party is, of course, many voices of dissent also very often come out from within the Congress party. So ultimately, in politics, you have to deliver the results. Yes, they've got a shot in the arm in the southern states, as we were mentioning earlier, but they will also have to sort of drifts. Meghna Deka have a slightly different perspective, because even when the Congress and DMK have been in power in the two different states, there have been fights for water. The water fight is not new. It is a historical fight which has been on for decades. So that's not something that I expect to be resolved. But yes, expect one thing.
Optics, for example, if you just contrast that to NDA which manages to even get Naidu on board and talking about delimitation.
Yeah.
That is the contrast that I was making. You get everyone to fall in line. Yes, we all understand regional differences, parochial politics is going to be ingrained in India's politics. But when you have a Naidu coming out and saying, Andhra Pradesh thinks that it's going to be a good thing at a time when every chief minister of the South has come out and opposed it, their NDA managed to get their flock together.
You have a very valid point, but I think the two issues are different. Delimitation is a much larger national issue that affects the South as a whole, vis-a-vis the northern states. So it's more of a South versus North. Here it's more a Karnataka versus Tamil Nadu issue. And that is why it's very important. These are very, very, people are very passionate about the issues. I'll just complete. They're very passionate issues because it's about water. It's about farmers. In Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, it's also about drinking water. For Karnataka's future development, for Bangalore's water needs, for instance, Meghna Deka and such projects will be required at some point of time, because the population in our cities is exploding. So how much of that water can they possibly get? All these become very, very basic and very fundamental issues in the way that the fundamental and the dynamic in which they actually work on ground.
The problem here is of alliance management, and Pranesh alluded to this a short while back. A lot of allies within the India bloc are now of the feeling that the Congress has been giving them stepmotherly treatment for quite some time. Let's use the Jharkhand example again as a microcosm of what's actually happening in the India bloc. Now, there are reports that RJD MLAs have decided to cross-vote in this particular case, the RJD being an ally of the Congress party. When Rajya Sabha elections were held earlier in the year in the state of Bihar, and there was an RJD candidate in the fray, at least 3 Congress MLAs were absentees. They did not cast their vote. So this is also being interpreted by many as revenge. As revenge on the part of the RJD to teach the Congress party a lesson that you guys deserted us back in 2026 March when we needed your votes for our Rajya Sabha candidate. Now we're not going to extend our support.
Also the word is, I don't know, and Madhav can, maybe tell us that Rahul Gandhi has not been on talking terms with Tejasvi Yadav.
There's been friction. He didn't campaign for a month. We all know that very well. Then the peak of the after starting that entire campaign of vote chori on such a high frequency several months before the election, suddenly he was not to be seen on the campaign trail. I think he went abroad or something of that aspect. But the point is, when you start things with that intensity, when you're making it a national issue, you're talking about Karnataka, Maharashtra, Bihar, Haryana, you have to follow it up. And I think that's where the allies also sometimes get miffed, that things are started and then the follow-up is not there. It shouldn't be just left to the allies to then take it forward. And of course, the results are there for all to see. Maybe Rahul Gandhi had an inkling, I don't know, that the election is a foregone conclusion.
So the divide of the opposition is advantage NDA and advantage
that will
BJP,
always be.
obviously.
But I will add a caveat. I'll just add a caveat. Just look at what the NDA also did when it came to key allies such as the Shiv Sena, what they did when it came to Akali Dal. So it's not like, these dynamics do change. For the bigger national party, when the equations with the allies, it's all very easy. And in theory, of course, you must say that you need to take as a lock. But the power equation changes. And right now, Rahul Gandhi and Congress probably feel that they have the upper hand because they are in power in most states.
It's what you do and how you manage to pull it off.
That's the public perception. At least the perception of dignity, the fact that you're treating them equally, that perception has to be managed very well.
Let's quickly also talk about, how the picture in Parliament changes with, TMC rebels now joining another party, with Shinde faction getting more people, MPs, at least six from the...
Six, yeah.
It's, more or less official now. I think the press conference happens in a day or two. How does that picture change in Parliament?
And that's going to be interesting because, as we all know, what BJP requires in a Lok Sabha to push through, to bulldoze through some of the bills which in the past have gone back because they didn't have the numbers for constitutional bill. You need 2/3 of the majority. So they need 360 plus. 360 is the number that they need to get. Right now, they don't have that. So if you do hypothetically have a confirmation of 6, perhaps even 7 of the Uddhav Sena MPs crossing over, you have the 20 who are there from TMC, you of course have the AAP crossover MPs as well. They are inching closer, but it is going to be a long way forward. But at the end of it, one caveat that we were adding earlier, and I'd like to add to that, we need a strong opposition. I personally feel that you need a strong opposition. I'd like to see a strong opposition because that has been a problem that India has had regime after regime. Why did Congress have that huge big dream run?
It's a mindset problem on part of the Congress party because the Congress does not like to think of itself as the opposition party.
And you need that opposition to keep you in check.
I'll just tell you, look at the example here before us. Rahul Gandhi is the honorable leader of opposition. Instead of delivering as the leader of opposition, he's already being celebrated as, from shadow prime minister to cool PM to something else today.
You mentioned a very important point about how this is all going to play up in Parliament, and we're waiting for the monsoon session of Parliament to convene in the month of July. It is expected or speculated that the government might want to reintroduce the 131st constitutional amendment that paves the way for women's reservation and delimitation in an expanded Parliament, an expanded Lok Sabha of about 850 seats. Now, we did a back-of-the-hand calculation of where the numbers stand. If 6 of these Sena MLAs decided to throw in their lot with the MPs, throw in their lot with the NDA, add to that 20 TMC, then you have approximately 342 to 343 in favor of the NDA. The majority mark in a house of 540, which is where the numbers stand right now, is 360. So that would still leave them 17 to 18 short. But what's important to emphasize here is that the way the voting is conducted in the Lok Sabha for the passage of a constitutional amendment, you have 2/3. You need a 2/3 of those present and voting.
Present and voting is always.
So therefore, abstentions will play a big role. And since there are parlays between...
I don't think you mentioned DMK though. Did you mention the DMK? The DMK is quite likely to...
Yes,
that's a big jump.
The only reason I've not mentioned the DMK is because of their vociferous opposition against delimitation brought in by the NDA. So will that end up weighing on them when it comes to voting in the Lok Sabha, when it comes to the delimitation bill? That's my only caveat there, because of the kind of acrimony over delimitation that we've seen between the DMK and the BJP. However, politics
is the art of the possible.
Absolutely.
And if the government then says or gives them a chance to say that, look, we forced the centre to change its stand and give us this one concession. I don't know the concession.
And that one concession, one concession might be 50% written in the letter of the bill of a proportionate increase in the number of seats. Maybe that is a concession.
So delimitation is one constitutional amendment combined with women's reservation, which is pretty much on the cards.
I've also heard of one nation, one poll.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to come to.
This session itself,
of course not.
Eventually it is going
remember,
to be
this is a government that has 3 years of power left. Are we looking at an era of constitutional amendments? And even with the DMK, there's still about 6 or 7 short, so they will still need some abstentions. Even if that happens in that situation, of course, it won't be easy. The DMK will have to explain a stand because it's vociferously, as you rightly mentioned, not just delimitation on one nation, one poll, and all these other issues. Uniform Civil Code, for instance, is another possibility. Are we looking at the potential or the possibility of an era of big constitutional amendments? Because if that happens, that's the only one big thing on BJP's agenda, the RSS's agenda, which has not been delivered on. Of course, when it comes to Jammu and Kashmir, we saw what has happened there, the constitutional amendments that happened there. But in these particular cases where they need that 2/3 number,
absolutely,
are we looking at the possibility of that?
This only underlines the fact that how quickly things change in politics. Just a few months ago, we were saying that this is a half government, 240, etc., etc. Now we are talking of a super NDA. We've run out of time, Siddharth.
Sure.
Save that for the next one.
No problem.
Thanks for watching, viewers. Do let us know what you think of this.